Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Mikel Lindsaar. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting, Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here this wonderful Saturday afternoon. Of course, that's when it recorded. But you are the CEO and founder of StoreConnect, giving the small businesses the edge to compete with some of the big guys. Your CRM, which is a client resource management software. Some people don't know what that is. But I've used such services like Salesforce. But you're helping small businesses get on the edge so they can compete with, say, the Amazons or Google or one of those huge companies out there, giving them that edge. But before we go to share all that, I'd love for you to share with the audience, how did you even come to creating StoreConnect and how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, well, thanks, Christine.
You're welcome.
Oh, I said Christine. It's Christina. Oh, my gosh. You have to forgive me because it is Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
Crazy
here,
early here.
I know. I've only had one coffee. So
I'm on my second here.
Well, I have to really congratulate you because you said my name correctly, which, that's amazing. It doesn't happen that often. In fact, it's such a rare occurrence that I have it in the bottom of every email that I send out. So apologies, Christina. I will keep it right for the rest of the interview. How did I create StoreConnect? Well, I started with using Salesforce myself and realizing that it had quite a lot of potential to help a small and medium business get into communication with their clients and their customers and their prospects. And what I realized was that there was a gap between systems that are CRMs like Salesforce and your front-end e-commerce platform or your website. And what I realized I could do is I could build a website platform. So you could think like a Shopify or a WordPress or something like that on top of Salesforce. So instead of just getting Salesforce and just having your CRM and then having to pull that data out and put it into Shopify or put it into WordPress or Magento or whatever, you could run your entire website and your entire business just directly out of Salesforce.
Nice.
And what that allowed you to do was then really get to know your customer and understand their habits and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I really just wanted to create something that helped those smaller businesses compete with the likes of Amazon, the massive chains, because customers have come to expect that. When you call a company of that size, you expect them to know who you are, what you've purchased, when you purchased it. And I just had these experiences with small businesses where, that they're really trying. The small businesses really care about their business. Otherwise, frankly, they wouldn't be in business. I mean, they'd have a job somewhere. Yeah. So I wanted to enable them to be able to have that same level of customer care that the really big organizations did without the cost of having to have a 200-person e-commerce team.
Yeah, it's true. I've used Salesforce in years past. And, if you're a really small business, especially getting out of the gate, it can be a little pricey and also hard to use when, maybe you don't have as big a client listing as, say, these huge businesses. But to that note, what I notice about small businesses that maybe is lost on some of the bigger businesses is you kind of just become a faceless person among so many thousands of people, and you don't get service the same way as you do with a mom and pop or small business. Correct. Where they really want to connect and get to know their customers more. I remember having some bad dealings with a bank, I won't mention the name, and they just put
just all of them, right? I mean,
yeah, pretty much, yeah, all the big banks. But it was, I had a problem with my account, and it wasn't getting resolved, and I was like tossed about so many people. And then I put it on Twitter that I was upset, and then they had a pasted response. And I'm like, but the small business, that's what's wonderful about a small business owner is they can do that really deep connection with the client. Say, okay, Christina, we heard that you didn't have a good visit at the store clerk or whatever. How can we help you? And give them that individualized attention. I mean, that's personally during the pandemic, one of the things I did was look to shop more with small businesses in my community because, they're hurting the most.
Yeah, totally. And it's really interesting that the small businesses, they sort of fall into two camps I've found as I've started to build out this product. You've got the small businesses that have their business. They don't really want to scale it much. They are where they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. And those businesses are fantastic. And then you have the ones that also want to try and grow it and scale it a bit without losing that small business vibe. Yeah. Or the authenticity, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's how we help both of those camps. In terms of the ones that are where they are and they don't really want to expand massively, well, their only option then to increase profitability is to increase efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So StoreConnect with Salesforce together allows them to do that, because when they sign in and Christina calls up and says, hey, I've got a problem with my purchase that I just made, they can see the entire conversation history, everything that's happened, all the emails that have gone out, what they purchased, all the previous orders, all of that on one screen.
Yeah.
But
And
the ones that want to expand, they have that same problem, but obviously at scale. A doesn't know what B is doing, or Mary doesn't know what Joe's doing. So they need to be able to look that up.
Yeah, total disconnect. And that's why I think, your business is so important, and also Salesforce, because I've gone into using that platform and you get a snapshot of everything right there. What I love is you can also save the contracts there, so you can pull up the contract right there. The client has a problem, you can look at it right there, pull up the documents, you have it right there. As you said, you can save all the conversations, the emails. It's just such a wonderful tool. Instead of having what I notice a lot of small businesses are doing is they'll have a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, and they'll like go down it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what if someone deletes a line? No, then you won't know what happened.
I mean, I've got a crazy story on that. One of our customers that just is in the process of getting onto StoreConnect. They had an order placed with a client for $20,000 worth of materials. They're like a building resource company. I don't want to get too specific. So they had materials that went out to the customer, $20,000 invoice, and the paper order literally fell between the cracks of two desks, between A and B, $20,000 order.
Wow.
And 6 months after delivery, the client calls up because they're trying to balance their books for the end of the financial year. And they're just saying, hey, thanks for the delivery, but could you invoice us? Would you like to? And the client's like, what do you mean? What do you mean invoice you? Well, this order of $20,000 you sent us. What order? So because it had gone from the system, and they searched the office and they found it literally between two desks, right? So it's rife. These small businesses, they don't have time. They don't have an excess of staff.
Yeah.
And that's why, our motto at StoreConnect is time well spent. We know that building an e-commerce platform and running a business is hard and it's a lot of work. So at least, let's do it once and let's do it right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the businesses I was consulting with did their bills on PowerPoint or something. I was like, what?
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's because they're a graphic designer, so they use PowerPoint all the time.
They
so
know
I'm
PowerPoint.
like,
exactly.
But I'm like, invoice on PowerPoint, dude. We need to get you hooked up with QuickBooks or something. Okay?
Yeah, right. An accounting system.
I know, because you ask them, it's like, well, how many bills do you have going in and out? And see, just there as a case in point, they had a $20,000 order that they shot out, but you had no indication of in and out, like what's going in, what's coming in. If you had a system like that in place, then you would say, oh, wait a second, they haven't paid their $20,000 invoice and it's 6 months old. What's going on? Let's give them a holler. And they'd be like, we never got the invoice. But without the systems in place, they would never know that. And hence they're just giving away free stuff here, which you definitely don't want as a small business owner. That's
right. And, talking to systems, I think that's one of the scariest things for a small business owner is like, well, it's not scary is probably not the right word. Maybe unconfrontable. Like, how do you go from not having a series of systems to having something that works, right? And to talk to your point earlier about Salesforce can sometimes be hard to get up and running because, well, it's so big. There's just so much of it. And where do you start? I think that's where StoreConnect really helps that journey, because it gives that business owner okay, we're starting with our website, e-commerce, and the way that our customers are talking to us. Good. I know that because they already do that somehow. So I know how that works. Well, let's move that into the platform, have all of that data in there. And now we've got that as a base level. Now we can start extending it bit by bit by bit, as opposed to, as my mother say, you can eat an elephant as long as you take one bite at a time. I don't know if she ever ate an elephant, but there you go. Now that I say it out loud, it sounds a bit stupid, but sorry, Mum. But yeah, that's the point, right? You need somewhere to start that's a stable location and then build out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what scares a lot of small businesses away, including that business I'm talking about, who had a number of the 200 clients they served on a spreadsheet. They're like, how could I possibly get all the orders we've done for the past year and all the clients and the data into this place? Well, in the beginning, it is going to be a little painful getting it up and going. But once you've gotten it entered and sorted out and updated, forget about it. Once you do it bit by bit, now all the information's in there. You can access it anytime. Anyone you hire, a temp, an intern, can access it, immediately see what's going on. You can make your life so much easier on the back end.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And the other thing it does is it highlights areas of the business that aren't operating as efficiently as you hoped.
Share some of your experiences in that arena.
Well, as a business owner, one of the things and the traps that you run into, and I know, I'm a business owner, I'm as guilty as anyone else, is assuming that your team have the same knowledge you have. And I think one of the things business owners underestimate incredibly is how often do you need to repeat something before it actually becomes a known policy within the organization. And if you don't keep repeating this, you don't get anywhere. Now, there's two ways to repeat it. You can repeat it, like you can just keep saying it and again and again and again, or you can create policy around it and write down that policy and make it known across the organization. And there's lots of solutions for either one. But when you start implementing a system which is changing the way the business operates, all of these unknown policies start appearing in front of your eyes and you have to deal with them. And one of the things that, well, humanity generally will do something called fill the vacuum. So if there is a vacuum of knowledge or a vacuum of information, people will invent something to put into that. And it might be the right thing, but usually it's the wrong thing. So if you have a situation with a customer and your staff member doesn't have a policy to lean on, at least not necessarily that exact situation, but broadly, if customers want A, we need to do B, then they'll think up something because they want to help. They're trying to do the right thing generally. So they'll think up something and that will then become policy. And then the new team member comes in and says, oh, what do we do when A and B happens? Oh, you do this. Well, that's their policy. They came up with that. It might have nothing to do with how you want to run the business. So when you start automating, you clean it up.
I love that you went there, Michael, because I recall being called into a company and all the sales reps had their own policy in place on how they operate with clients said, oh, I'm not happy with it. Oh, I give a 20% discount. Oh, I do this. I'll give away a free whatever. I'm like, what? What are we doing? And so
that's right.
I'm coming here going, how much money are we losing? So then I decided that when we sat down at the table, we would be very clear with the contract that here's what you have to agree to X, Y, Z. And, we have to make sure that the people we're going into business with can afford what we're sending them, because these were very high priced products. So do they have the background or, maybe the credit or the finances to handle this? So we'd go in with the contract's going to be a minimum of 10 of this product and it costs this much. And then I set up a policy where we do a credit check on them. I'd go and check their credits, their bank, and all the sales reps immediately when I enacted this were like, no, we'll lose all the business.
You would not be Miss Popular at that point.
No, I was not. I was totally not Miss Popular. They were like, we're going to lose all of our business. No one's going to agree to this. And of course they agreed to it because we're a business and they're a business. And the people we're dealing with are completely understand that we want to know that you can handle the cost of what we're giving you, that we're not just giving away free stuff. Because when I showed up, there were quite a few people that were not making good on their end of the deal, meaning paying their bills. So, and then of course, then to get the bills paid, sales reps will give you a 10%, 20% discount. So now we outlined it. If there's something that's wrong, here's a policy on how we're going to deal with disputes. And so it wasn't just a random, boom, we're going to give a 20% discount. None of that. It has to come through certain channels. It has to be approved by the CFO, la. But at the end of the year, we had gone from over 200,000, which is a very small business, in past dues to maybe 50,000 in past dues.
Exactly.
Tremendous. But the policies made all the difference.
And your goodwill would have shot through the roof with the clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even though you were being more strict on what you were selling, the clients that you got would appreciate the service more, appreciate that you took the care to look into it. appreciate that you were saying no to some of them.
Yeah. See, boundary, that's what they don't understand, that people appreciate the boundary. They know where they stand. And see, what I always say to the sales reps is that if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Because it's not that I think, I don't think that any person, business you work with is coming to the table for the most part to just take your goods or lie or cheat or steal. Right. I think that you'll sit at the table, you'll make some agreements verbally, and people will forget. You'll think one thing, they'll think another, no one's on the same page, and then it turns into a big mess, legal mess maybe later on. But if you sit down, you write it out, legal looks at it, their legal looks at it, we all sign, we're all on the same page, so now we have something to stand on.
Yeah, we have a common level of agreement.
Exactly.
And without agreement, there can't be affinity, and without that, you won't have any communication, and people will go away anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the whole StoreConnect idea and Salesforce came together to me. Several years ago now. I mean, we've been building this thing for quite some time, but we've only really launched it to market last year. Is you can record all of that, and a lot of it can be automatically recorded. They sign up on this page, they click these terms and conditions, they did this, and this. But more importantly, for the high value customers, sales rep A spoke to them and went over these details. Accounts B had a chat with them and told them the payment terms, and they did this, and they signed their DocuSign or Right Signature or whatever platform. And you capture all of that data, and it's just there,
Yeah, and it's great. Now, what does it look like? You're a small business, you want to get started today, you call StoreConnect. What does it look like for them getting started? Is it a long process to get going and up and going with your business? What's it look like?
Well, there's two broad categories of customer in that sense. We've got people that are already on Salesforce, which frankly, if you're on Salesforce and you're a small business, StoreConnect's a little bit of a no-brainer. And then you've got companies that are just not on Salesforce whatsoever, and they're hitting this scaling limit where they just can't sell anymore, where they'll get up to some imaginary roof of sales and they go, well, why is it we always get to that and we can't get a bit higher, right? So for the first type of customer that's on Salesforce, they'd probably already have some sort of partner, Salesforce partner engaged, who helps them configure and set up their business and that sort of thing. The customer should just check with us and make sure that partner knows about StoreConnect. If they don't, they should just introduce us to their partner and we'll get them set up. That's no problem. We can enable partners very quickly. StoreConnect's it's a big product, but it's fairly simple conceptually for an existing Salesforce partner to understand. And in fact, I think since we launched our partner program in July last year, we've had over 34 companies sign up to sell StoreConnect. So we're very rapidly growing that side of the business. So if you're an existing Salesforce customer, talk to your partner, or if you have a Salesforce resource within your organization, even if it's part-time, they can just go to our website, go to our help website, watch our quick installation video, which is about 13 minutes long, and it includes every configuration step you need from zero to selling a hoodie online with a credit card. If they're not on Salesforce, then that's a bigger conversation. They do need to have a look at that digital transformation approach. And where you would start with that is with a partner that understands StoreConnect and Salesforce. So you'd probably just go to our partners page on the website and pick 3, or talk to a Salesforce account exec and say, hey, I'm interested in StoreConnect and getting on with Salesforce. And we would then get someone working with you to map out that journey. Because like anything, with a digital transformation, such as moving on to Salesforce, you have to make sure you're doing it methodically and carefully, because fundamentally what you're doing is you're replacing the tires and engine of your car while you're driving.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have a curve coming up ahead that you're unprepared for and run off the road into a tree. So not to scare anyone off, you can do it. Lots of companies do it, and it happens all the time. And it will always work. It's just how bumpy is the road on the way. So you want to make the road as smooth as possible and incrementally approach it. And our partners are experts at that. I mean, they do it all the time. So you just need to make sure you have that conversation. So yeah, if you're not on Salesforce, find a partner who understands StoreConnect, go from there. Our website has 30 of them. If you are on Salesforce, get your existing partner to talk to us, or get your admin to go and do the quick installation and check it out and go from there.
Yeah. So some people might be listening in going, okay, so I work with Salesforce or I want to work with Salesforce, but what's the benefit of bringing on StoreConnect? Can't I just use Salesforce?
Of course you can. So Salesforce is the CRM. Salesforce gives you that customer contact record. You can track opportunities, orders, leads, all of that basic stuff. You can add in the service desk and do support cases and what have you. That's Salesforce. What StoreConnect does is takes that data. So when you do set up Salesforce for the first time, you'll create some products in there. So we sell glasses or shoes or whatever. And you list out all of your products and you give them a price and you give them a description. And those products generally are used for your internal sales team to look at that, make sure that you're selling the right thing with the right price, make sure you're not giving the discounts that are below cost price like you were talking about, and all that sort of thing. So you're capturing that product data. And you're also capturing the accounts and contacts of your customers. So what StoreConnect does is it takes all of that data and turns it into an e-commerce website so that you don't have to type it out again. So what normally happens is you might have someone who is on Salesforce who goes, you know what, we need a website. Okay, I'll go install Shopify or I'll go install BigCommerce. And now they've got a problem. They've got two sources of truth. They have
how do you merge them?
Or how do you get them talking to each other? And the other problem with that is Salesforce is very opinionated. It wants to be the source of truth of everything relating to a customer data. And these e-commerce sites are very opinionated and they want to be the source of truth of all the order and processing data. So getting those two products to communicate is a nightmare. We had one customer who was spending $10,000 a month on Zapier to keep Shopify talking to Salesforce.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So they basically paid for the entire installation of StoreConnect and all the partner stuff out of 3 months of their Zapier bill. You know, it's like, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's amazing. Yeah. And I've heard just recently, someone switched to a new software and they're like, we're worried, can our software speak to our CRM system?
Exactly.
And so you really want to be able to get that nailed out before you switch to a new system. Will these two talk to each other, or else you're just going to be working on two systems constantly? And is the same information in there? And do you want to pay more people, hire more staff just so they can upkeep both systems?
Exactly. And time well spent, right? That's what StoreConnect's all about.
I like that.
And that's really where this whole idea of e-commerce 3.0 came into it with StoreConnect, is that e-commerce 3.0 has these two concepts of you want all of the interactions with your e-commerce and CRM platform really to be in the same place. You don't want to be logging into 5 different systems. We had a prospect who's now a customer. They have 73 different e-commerce stores. Just have a think about that, across 20 brands in 4 countries, right? So they basically have 2 or 3 staff full time. And I asked them, how do you manage this? And they went, we're really, really good at Excel. And I went, you're not kidding, right? So,
but you know, I tell people all this all the time because I've talked to small businesses. They just love Excel. I do too. I'm started out as an accountant, so
totally Excel.
It's a great tool
application in the world, I think. For
it totally is. Along with Word,
absolutely.
But
it's not an efficient way to do it because now you've got people doing Excel to keep 73 websites online.
Well, guess what? Also, I've said, what happened? Even if you make it protected Excel page,
file.
Yeah. Someone could delete it, someone could mess with it. Information could be tampered with in some fashion, even yourself. Like you delete a line you don't mean to. So I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of using, when you get, past 1 or 2 clients, using Excel.
Totally.
Yeah. Well,
so we replaced that entire clients with just one Salesforce and one StoreConnect license.
Yeah. Well, this has been so fascinating. I know business owners out there are like sitting here like, how do I get started today? I have this problem. I'm having to hire more and more people. How do they get with StoreConnect and get going today? What does it look like? And how do they find out more about you?
Good. So the website's at getstoreconnect.com. One word, nice and simple. And there are forms there. There's a contact us form there. We also have a demo video available on that website. And there's the partners page there as well, which you can look at. And get in touch with us. We'll set you on the right path. And if StoreConnect's not for you, we'll let you know.
Awesome.
But at the same time, if it is for you, we'll definitely help you take your business to the next level.
That's great, because the point of business is to keep growing. You don't want to be spending. You want to spend your time, as you say, time well spent, not
right.
hiring more and more people to do data entry. So everyone, go to getstoreconnect.com, and thank you, Michael, for coming to Savvy Broadcasting today and sharing your great wisdom with our audience.
Thank you very much, Christina. It's been fantastic.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.